episode of Restore Your Life podcast. I'm your host, Chanel Stewart. During the last podcast, we spoke about restoring your identity. And guess what? We're not finished. The discussion was too great for just one episode. Today, we'll be focusing on restoring your identity, part two. And as usual, we have an amazing lineup just for you. So sit back, relax, get your Bibles out, and enjoy the show. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and share this podcast with your friends and family. Today's panel includes Janelle Grant,
Hey y'all.
Kamar McInnes,
Yeah.
and our very own Uncle Courtney Bailey.
Here and ready to go.
So we spoke about the parents. We want to turn to know the digital aspect. The world is going digital. Social media is such a big thing. Almost everyone is on social media, unless you're super duper duper old. But even even old persons are on social media. Do you guys believe that social media affects how people see themselves?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, sometimes, alright, so I'm on social media, and sometimes you're on like Instagram per se, and you literally be in like your explore page, and you're just like, I never just see that picture, yeah. No, but it's just somebody else looking like somebody else, and I think there is almost like a carbon copying of this specific image that you need to look like so you can be Instagram famous, and so it's very unfortunate to see how easily our generation, so millennials and Gen Z, fall into a trap of what the ideal should look like, which is based on persons who probably just Photoshop down the place. And so it's unfortunate because Gen Z is, they call them digital natives, so they literally grew up in an environment where they were exposed to technology. And so because at an impressionable age, they are exposed to persons proffering what their identity is, them quickly assume what it is, and it is not founded on the view that the Lord has of them or what their parents say, because parents are sometimes allowing them to just pick up their identity from off social media. And it's very unfortunate. And so definitely social media has played a great role in how persons perceive themselves, and just the idea of constantly comparing yourself and just the suicidal thoughts that might come as a result of that. And it's crazy. So sometimes I'm on Instagram and just watching different teenagers just go through them different phases, and oh god, it's so interesting because sometimes you'd see them well bold on social media and then you interact with them in person, no interpersonal skills. I sound old, but the idea is just that they have not taken the time, or they have not been given the opportunity to take the time to just learn who they are independent of the social media space, and it is unfortunate.
Yeah, social media. I'm convinced has really influenced people's perception. And I hasten to add, of the panelists, that I've been around the longest on this world. I'm not Methuselah, so I'm aware of social media, and maybe my big toe is in social media, right? But I certainly see the effects of it in how people, for example, are defining their friends based on their number of likes. And that's ridiculous, right? I mean, somebody from Shanghai, China that you've never seen in life, them like one of your posts and you count them as a friend. I mean, that's ridiculous. But they begin to shape how their popularity based on the likes on social media. And so if people start to unfriend them or unlike them or whatever the terminology is, unfollow, there you go, then they start to have these meltdowns, and that kind of thing. But boy, my life is this and that, and that's absolute ridiculousness, if there's such a word. Then you have the element of cyberbullying, where you're online and then people start cussing you out for whatever reason, and it begins to impact you psychologically. And all of these things, in many instances, you have never and probably will never have an actual conversation with these people, but yet still it impacts your outlook on life so tremendously. And so, unfortunately, the technology and social media does impact, in my view, probably, if not more negatively than positively, as equally negatively and positively. And to me, it just has too much influence for what it is in our lives today, and hey, you can have a real relationship with God, no social media required, and so that is where we need to turn to.
I think your teenage years are just inherently rough. So you're trying to figure out yourself, you're trying to understand who you are, what your role in the earth is, and all that kind of jazz. I think social media adds another layer of difficulty to that. And so I see it manifested a lot. I'm a youth leader, and not specifically with the youth from church, but because I'm in an arena of being around youth all the time, you see where you define who you are based on, it's more of a fashioning of who you want to be to present to the public. So it's almost like, I want to be seen as this, I want to be seen like the person who goes out a lot and fun and blah blah blah. So you fashion your story. It's almost like creating a story. But what really happens is that it's a lot of superficiality, and then you miss a lot of your actual teenage experiences and learning who you are, because a lot of it was done as a front to present a particular view to the world. And it's rough, as I keep saying, like it is rough, and your teenage years are already rough. And so I think it would be good for teenagers specifically to draw back a bit. I encourage teenagers. So sometimes you just fast from social media. Just take yourself away, and just seclude yourself with the Lord to hear His thoughts on you, because social media can get very loud and very crowded. And so it's important for you to just step back and hear what God is saying about you. Yeah.
That's very true. Another thing is social media presents this one size fits all. And what I mean by that, it gives you like a blueprint that this is what you must be doing at this age. So you must accomplish this and this by this. So for me, a lot of my friends at my age, they're married. Some have houses, some have cars, some have completed their masters. And a lot of time I was sitting and like, okay, I don't have my masters yet. I don't own a car. I'm not married. Things like that. And you kind of feel bad of not keeping up with how you're, what you're supposed, the Joneses, or what you're supposed to achieve by a certain age. As well as, I remember I had a friend who, she took a picture, and she loved the picture. She posted it on social media, but she didn't get enough likes. And she removed the picture. And I'm like, why? I'm like, you love the picture, but apparently you didn't get enough likes. And she's like, but nobody else liked it because it didn't get enough likes. And I'm like, and I look at it, I'm like, even though we might love ourselves, but because the world doesn't like who we are, we try to change it, or we try to remove ourselves. And I couldn't believe it, but it is real, and it's not only her. A lot of persons, they put out this image, and if they don't get a feedback, or a positive feedback, or an acceptable feedback from the social media crowd, then they believe that they're not good enough, or they need to Photoshop to look a certain way. So it's definitely interesting.
Yeah, I think what social media also does, I won't say it's the only contributing factor, but I feel like what it also does is highlight the confidence deficit, as Uncle Courtney was saying. So you're good at well long a struggle with the self-esteem problem, Then you go grab on social media, and then thinking that this is the place where I will get the affirmation, and then nobody now forward, like nothing now go on for you. And to the point where the obsession is so real, where people have apps to create where you can get more followers, and it's amazing the level of superficiality that we are drawn into, because in and of ourselves we desire perfection. And I feel like when we plug into the source, who is Jesus, we find out who He wants us to be. And so the thoughts and the ideas of the world hold very little weight in light of who God has prescribed us to be. And so, as I keep saying, just step back. I encourage people to just step back, come off, give yourself a nice reality check, and say, boy, these people who like or don't like my things, follow or don't follow me, have almost zero implications on my eternal destiny. And so when you view life in light of what is important, what will happen after this life, you realize how insignificant stuff like these are. And so draw back, step back, move away, turn off your phone, throw it away, just to zone in and hear what God has to say about you.
I mean, that's an interesting point, but habits are hard to break. So I'm going to pose a question to you. How does one do that? I'm not like that, I'm a realist, So, but how can one do that?
I think it's actually like practical. Just not throw a phone was a bit extreme, but if you if you, I mean, if you're rich like that, and can just get another one if you need it. But practically, if you need accountability, say yo, I'm not on social media for this week. Delete the apps. Give somebody the phone. Put your phone in your drawer until a certain time. So you go back to your WhatsApp message and say you'll respond during these hours, like almost like an office. I'm open from this time to this time, and you can contact me this time. And so for me, I'm on a social media fast, not specifically because I'm enthralled or engrossed in it, because I know it is a distraction, and so you delete apps, you put away the phone, you take off the notification settings, so you're not tempted to go and click on it as soon as a notification comes in. And I think putting it before the Lord and say, Lord, I want to honor with this. I want to not be obsessed with this. I want to not be superficial. And I believe that He will give you the grace to do that.
Yeah, additionally, we were created to be social beings. We need to interact with each other. Back in the Garden of Eden, God said all the animals had a partner. It's not good for man to be alone. And so He created another human being, Eve, to be with Adam, right? And then He gave the command that they must go forth and procreate. So we are designed to interact and to fellowship with each other. On social media, the majority, 90% of the people that are interacting with you on social media, you will not interface with in real life. And so therefore, you can't allow them to have the authority over you or to have the power over you to influence who you are as an individual and to influence your identity in that way. Because they don't know you. They've never met you. They don't know how you sound or anything like that. They don't know what you're good at. Right? And so you can't give them that power over your life as an individual. And a practical way to limit the power of social media over you, I believe, is to be deliberate about interacting with real people. Go out with your friends, have a conversation, laugh, watch a movie, read the scriptures together, have a Bible study, visit each other, bake a cake together, whatever, But go and Black Forest cake is a nice one. Just saying that there, but be deliberate about that. So in addition, so sometimes when you have your social media fast, actually call somebody or go visit somebody or hang out, and therefore use those hours of real interactive time to be with people who can positively influence your identity, who can affirm you, and who can, tell you, say, listen, you're the rubbish and that kind of stuff. And so that helps to fill those gaps and to break those difficult habits of being addicted to social media, as Kemar was pointing out.
And because we want to be obedient, while you're doing exactly what Pastor Courtney just mentioned, please wear your masks. Stay 6 feet apart. So when you bake the cake, probably can use like 2 different stoves. I don't know. But just respect what the Prime Minister and the ministers are saying. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Maybe we should socially distance our phones on social media.
Good point. Great point. Okay, so can we get some scriptures that can help persons with their identity? What does the Bible say about identity?
Right. Psalm 139 is one that we mentioned earlier. It speaks about being fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works of God. Someone knows very well, all that kind of does. It speaks about how deliberate God was in fashioning and making us. And I think it is important for us to just remember that in His deliberateness in fashioning us, it really just points to the fact that we are made with purpose and made for a reason. And so, yeah, just that's a good one to meditate on, to renew self identity. And you encourage yourself that God, the God of creation, fashion, and me.
Jeremiah chapter 1. Before you were in your mother's, God speaking to Jeremiah when he was commissioning, before you were in your mother's womb, I knew you and, in a sense, called you to be a prophet to the nations. And so that speaks to the fact that, when you come here on earth, God knows what He wants us to do. And so therefore, He has equipped us to be able to do that. And also, it really speaks a relationship with God as well, and so we can find our identity. We can first and foremost be assured that we have an identity and we have been prepared to do works that will glorify God. I think I mentioned Ephesians 2:10 previously as well. Another scripture that it really guided me in my earlier Christian walk is it's 1 Corinthians chapter 2, and it says verse 9, but as it is written, what no eye has seen nor ear heard, nor the heart of man imagined, what God has prepared for those who love him. These things God has revealed to us through his Spirit. The Spirit searches everything, even the depths of God. For who knows a person's thoughts except the Spirit of that person which is in him. And so that, to me, that guided me by saying that there was a specific purpose and reason that God had me here. And I probably hadn't seen it yet, right? But God has revealed it, or his desire is to reveal it to us through the Holy Spirit. And so in connection to him, we can find our identity, we can find our purpose, we can find our reason to walk on the earth outside of just worshiping God. And there's specific things that he has for us to do. And so those scriptures, to me, are really helpful in really telling us what we're all about. I always, or many times when I speak to people, I always say, listen, God manufactured us. And so if we really want to know who we are, we need to hook up back to him. Because if you spend your money and buy a Mercedes Benz and something goes wrong with it, I'm sure you're not going to take it to a Toyota dealer to try and fix it. Or you're not going to take it to a Nissan Sunny garage to try and fix your Benz. You're going to go back to Mercedes because they're the ones who constructed it. And so they know everything about it and how it must work. And so as individuals, we need to plug into God who created us, who gave us purpose, who gives us reason. We need to plug into him so that we can really find who we are in him, and so that gives me great comfort, and I encourage people to search out God with all that's inside of you, so that you can find your being, find who you are in him and your completeness.
Great. So we've come to the end of this podcast, and I'm sure we can all agree that it was not only informative, but it was very authentic, as we heard some of the personal experience of the panelists. So great. And I just want to leave with you, if you are struggling with identity, search the scriptures, plug into God, hear what God says about you, as well as you can probably speak to your pastor or someone that you're close with. All right? Any final words, panelists?
I guess I don't have a final word now. Love Jesus, find out what he says about you.
Yeah, just again to say, listen, whoever you are out there in podcast and listening to this, you have a purpose to walk this earth. Don't let anybody steal it from you. You are not a mistake, and you have something positive to contribute to the existence of life on this earth. Plug into Jesus, and you'll be well on your way.
Yeah, plug into Jesus. I like that one. Just remember to say, don't follow, right? It's very important to find out who you are. If you do need help, if Chanel said it, go to your pastors, or somebody that can, pastors, right? They're the best persons who should be able to help you to find out who you are, help you to pray, and seek the Lord, for answers and stuff. I just don't follow unless you're following Christ. All right? Yeah.
Once again, thank you for tuning in, and until next time, don't forget to share and subscribe to our YouTube channel.